Hi, I'm Donna Kallner. This is video 2 in lesson 2 of the New Age Looping Basics e-course. In this video, we're going to do a little bit of sampling that incorporates increase and decrease for shaping. For this sample, I'm using as a mold a round cake of soap. There are suggestions for other mold materials that you might find around the house in the lesson introduction. I'm going to start this sample with a wrapped base cord, similar to what we used in lesson 1. Adjust your hand position so that you can hold the elements of the wrapped base cord in place while you make the first stitch and pull it into a little knot to secure it to the mold. Notice that my base cord is above the widest part of the mold. Did I say secure it? We are wrapping thread around a bar of soap. It's going to be slippery. It's going to feel a little like wrestling snakes for a while. Start stitching into your wrapped base cord just the way you did in lesson 1. Keep adjusting your hand position and try not to get too frustrated when the soap slips out of the stitching, because it's going to do that for a little while. Stitch in a continuous spiral until you start to notice that the lags between your stitches are getting larger. The volume is increasing in the mold, and your stitching is starting to reflect it. It's time to start thinking about putting in some increases. Increase by making an extra stitch on the same lag as the last stitch made before you advance to the next lag in the previous row. Trust your eyes and your instincts. If it looks like you need an increase, you probably do. I've worked an increase on the flat part of the mold to make it a little bit easier for you to see what happens after I've made an increase when I return to that point on the next row. The increase gives me an extra lag to stitch into on the next row. When your intention is to create subtle increases that don't necessarily draw the eye, they just increase the volume, you'll often find it most effective to follow a row that has increases with a row that does not include increases, just a row of one stitch into each lag on the row. That's by no means a rule, but it is helpful to keep in mind sometimes. Once you've stitched past the widest part of the mold in this shapely sampler, we're going to need to start thinking about accommodating the volume in a different direction, and that would be by decreasing. To decrease, skip a lag on the previous row. Once again, and you're probably going to get tired of hearing me say this, trust your eyes and your instincts. If you think you need to decrease, do it. Keep decreasing as necessary, and when you get to the very bottom of this mold, I'll show you a different way to end this piece than what we used in lesson 1. In lesson 1, we simply whipped the live edges together to close up the bottom of the pouch in our sample project. And that works perfectly well, but it does create a part of the structure that is less elastic than the rest of the looping stitches. If I want to close up the base in a way that maintains some of that elasticity, I can use a simple looping variation that's based upon different needle entry orientations. Reorient the mold so that the live edges are roughly oriented from north to south. Take a stitch on one live edge, advancing as you normally would. Now change the orientation of the needle and go to the opposite live edge. Pass the needle under a lag and over the working thread. Alternate looping into first one live edge and then the other live edge, always making sure you pass over the working thread. When the two live edges have been looped together and you've completely closed the base, we're going to give this a little extra stitch just to secure the stitching. Even though we're working with a structure that is so stable it will not unravel even when you want it to, we're going to give it a little bit of extra security because it's the base. That extra security is nothing more than one full wrap that goes all the way around the needle. Hold that in place as you draw the thread through and pull it into a little knot. Bury the tail on the inside of the pouch, and this sample is done. So now this cake of soap is what's called a lost form. It's going to stay inside the sheath of looping that I've stitched because the base cord was wrapped at a point that is narrower than the wide part of the mold. This piece will be a dandy little scrubber, and then when the soap is all used up, I'll have a little pouch. That's our sample for increases and decreases. In the next video, we're going to make our first venture away from molds, and I'll show you how to work a round base in looping. I'll see you there.